Imagine you are sound asleep one night, and suddenly you hear a strange noise. You wake up and try to look around your dark room, but you notice that you cannot move. However, you can still see and hear things. You don't understand what's happening and try to figure out if you're even awake. Suddenly, you see what appears to be a dark figure resembling a person standing in the corner of your room. You are shocked and take a closer look. The dark figure is moving, and at this point, you are terrified. Stress begins to set in as you try everything to move, but your body won't respond. The dark figure approaches closer and closer until it stands at the foot of your bed. You attempt to scream and move, but you're immobilized. The figure grows larger and larger until it jumps on you out of nowhere. Suddenly, you wake up screaming, and your father rushes into your bedroom, asking what's going on. You are still terrified and wonder to yourself, was it all just a dream? It felt so real.
This phenomenon is known as sleep paralysis, a strange occurrence experienced by about 8% of people. During sleep paralysis, your body remains in a state of sleep while your brain is awake. When we sleep, we undergo cycles of REM and non-REM sleep. REM sleep is characterized by rapid eye movements from side to side, and it's during this phase that parts of the brain, such as the thalamus and amygdala, are most active. Typically, people wake up during non-REM sleep phases, but sometimes they awaken while still in REM sleep, leading to sleep paralysis. During REM sleep, neurotransmitters like GABA and glycine essentially deactivate your muscles to prevent you from acting out your dreams. If you wake up before a REM cycle is complete, your muscles remain inactive even though your mind is awake. In sleep paralysis, your mind is still partially in a dream state, resulting in hallucinations that can feel extremely real. These hallucinations encompass visual, sensory, and auditory experiences, but typically vanish once the paralysis ends, usually after a few minutes. Now, I have two stories to share with you of someone who experienced sleep paralysis. My assistant, Joe, is here to narrate the story. Viewer discretion is advised as this story can be highly distressing.
I've suffered sleep paralysis a total of 3 times in my life. The first 2 times just consisted of me waking up, not being able to move my body. The third time was much different, though I had woken up very early morning, probably like between 5 and 6 a.m. When the sun was just starting to come up, there was light in the room, but barely any. I tried to move, but I had that unfortunately familiar feeling of paralysis, helplessness, my eyes fixated on the wall. There was nothing I could do. Then suddenly I heard heavy footsteps coming up the stairs of my bedroom. It was my brother followed by my sister, dad and mum. They were all sobbing hysterically, and they all seemed to be at least a foot taller. It was unnerving. The 4 of them approached my bed, then stopped at the bedside towering over me, all 4 of them crying. I couldn't move. I wanted to cry for help, or just yell at them to stop, because they were scaring me. Their heights. They looked like they were near to hitting the ceiling. Then just as quickly as they entered, all 4 of them turned and walked back down the stairs. I could move again, and so I ran down the stairs to follow them. But they weren't in the outside area. I went to each of their rooms one at a time. All 4 of them were fast asleep. My heart was racing because the most surreal, unnerving thing just happened to me. I had to lean on the wall to gather my thoughts for a second. Breathing heavily, falling back asleep was futile. The rest of the night, I lay awake until the sun was fully up. A few days later, I was struck by a speeding car when crossing the road with friends and ended up with 3 broken bones and a fractured thigh bone. I was hospitalized for a week, and at one point, all 4 of my family members stood next to my hospital bed, looking down at me. My mom being emotional and crying. It was almost the same image from my sleep paralysis. I'm not superstitious at all, but if I were, I would 100% believe that dream was some kind of sign or some kind of prediction of the future. In fact, I just got chills writing that last sentence, thinking about it. My partner suffers from sleep paralysis. We've been together for about 5 years, so I've heard all about it, and I can recognize it when it's happening to him. Normally, I'm asleep, of course, but I've woken up several times when it's happening, and I tell him his eyes are open and he breathes extremely heavily. Sometimes his head shakes or his jaw clenches. I can wake him up during these episodes by shaking him. I've personally never encountered sleep paralysis. Nothing paranormal either. Until this encounter, I work in healthcare. I'm kind of paranoid about oversleeping and missing work, and I think this stress causes me to frequently wake up in the middle of the night to check the time. One evening, I woke up and looked at the clock. It was close to 2 a.m. Relieved I could sleep a little longer, I rolled back over. I could hear my partner breathing heavily on the outside of the bed. I was on the inside, and the dog was between us. At this point, I became aware of this low-voiced whispering. I had no idea what it was saying, but had lots of S-sounding words in it. I don't remember having any thoughts of what it might have been, besides thinking that my significant other was having an episode and trying to speak. I turn around to attempt to wake him up. The first thing I notice is that his eyes are closed, which was odd because they're normally open, at least when he's having an episode. Right after, I became immediately aware that something was standing over the top of him on the other side of the bed. I wish I could properly describe the adrenaline rush that ran over me. I've never felt such a rush of fear like that in my entire life. It was an extremely tall black shadow. It was a humanoid shape, but had much thinner, longer limbs. I looked up, and it was literally as tall as the ceiling, which is at least 10 feet. In fact, its head appeared to be hunched over, because it was too tall for the room. Its eyes were large and radiated red, like a coil on an oven instead of a light. I sit up, and my first reaction was to wake my dog. He's a 90-pound pit, who I should note never barks. He was curled in between us, and I could feel him snap to attention. I honestly didn't want to take my eyes off the thing, so I'm not sure if you were staring at it, or just in the general direction. I was looking. I couldn't make out any features other than the eyes on the thing, but I could definitely tell it was staring at me. It slowly backs away, never turning around, and hunches down and out the open bedroom door. The whole experience was probably 10 to 15 seconds. I immediately shake awake my significant other. He tells me that he was having an episode in which the entire room was full of shadow people speaking to him, saying things like, "You're going to die," he said. He could feel and see when I sat up. When I told him what I saw, I could tell he was absolutely terrified. What the hell was that? How could I have possibly seen something that my partner was experiencing during an episode of sleep paralysis? It's been a couple of months, and luckily nothing has happened since then. These were the 2 true stories I could find for you to tell. Now I'm done with my part of the video. Here's Ghost, who will take over for me.
So these were 2 stories about people suffering from sleep paralysis. If you want to see more stories on a specific topic, check out my channel. If you have a topic that you would like to see a video from me about, you can leave it in the comments, and who knows, I might make a video about it. But for now, I'll see you again next time.